too wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I also want to thank Gavin for being here. He is always able to provide the perspective about how long we have to go and the choices that will be made as we decide what is best to deal with the issues that face this city in terms of growth and in terms of population and in terms of the choices that we're going to make around our own livability, be it walking, cycling, sustainability. Public transport is part of that, and it's an incredibly important part of it, and we need to see more of it. I'm not going to stand here before you tonight and say that Labor is just going to say no to new roads. The first thing I'd like to say, though, in terms of Westconnex, and I think that Gavin did it well, I've actually talked about it being a rampaging octopus. What actually is Westconnex? Westconnex is an umbrella term being used by this government to promote tunnels and underground tunnels, but we don't know where they're going to go, we don't know what they're going to do, and we don't actually know what their purpose is. When Westconnex loosely was firstly mooted, the reason for it being suggested was because it was about dealing with the very significant task, and no one has talked about this, about moving freight in this city and how we actually get things to the port and how we deal with the massive congestion issue that is around Port Botany and Sydney Airport. A huge economic hub that actually is already at congestion, as we know, 2015, and we've worked closely this year to look at trying to do things like removing the access fee on the rail line to actually try and deal with that in the short term. But anyway, I can talk about that a lot. What I really want to talk about is Westconnex is a range of different projects. What Labor has committed to doing is to widen the M4 to Homebush, and Labor has committed to looking at a solution to the congestion around the M5 East. Within that is as far as we have gone. We do not support the current proposal around Stage 2. We do not support the suggestions of what's going on in relation to Petersham Park and touching the parks. Our green spaces are precious. They are not to be touched, not 1 centimetre, not 1 inch. This government has got almost all of our parks under attack. I want to talk about other people in our community, talk about what's happening to the residents at Ward Park in Surrey Hills who are also losing half their park. So Labor does not support that, but I'm not going to stand before you and simply say no to that. I also would make the point that the East-West is not being built because Labor is in government and is in a position to do that. We need to be honest about how we manage to win these things, and we do these things by working together. I've worked closely with Marine Faruqi in the upper house to try and get transparency and to try and actually get the business case examined on a number of these projects. Our city needs infrastructure, but it does not need infrastructure that does not have a business case, does not have traffic modelling, has not actually been examined by any independent body, and that does not stack up financially. Labor is committed to any of those projects that we would support in the future being open, being transparent, and having all of that material on there. If those projects don't stack up, they don't stack up. That's why I think this government, and I agree with Jenny on this, this is why this government has refused to release any of that information, and why we've worked so hard to try and have that, released, and will continue to do so. I want to talk specifically, though, about some local issues that Stage 2 will be. It's very good for us to be able to say the idea that we might be able to, that this project may not ever go ahead, and I think there are many aspects of it that are just pie in the sky, as they have been since 1945, but there is a long way to go. I think it's a mistake to miss the opportunities to be very specific about some of the issues that may come up in the future. We cannot have another we cannot turn King Street into a clearway. If we want to kill one of the best shopping strips in the country, we cannot have a clearway, and Labor will not do that. We cannot simply dump hundreds of thousands of cars, as being proposed in Stage 2, onto locally congested roads that will basically take part of Sydney Park and will flow right up into Edgware Road. I was involved with the campaign with Carmel Tebbit, I think Gavin would remember this, when we actually got the road reservation taken off Edgware Road. That was because it was inappropriate to actually be part of a road widening thing for the future. We were successful there. We didn't get to Campbell Road, but the Edgware project was part of that. There is a long way for us to go, but we need to also not miss the opportunity to be specific about the concerns and the impact on our community. People will turn out for their parks. They will turn out for their shopping strips. They will turn out for their communities. There is lots of things that we can agree on and work together on. There will be some things that we can't, and that's the way that it goes. But I want to make the commitment to you that I will work with this community to make sure that our voice is heard, that those micro issues are actually dealt with, and the just say no approach is not the only approach that we have to take to actually deal with these matters. Finally, I want to talk about the Westconnex in the context of the entire election. This New South Wales election is not just about Westconnex. It's about what happens with one of our major utilities and the privatisation or not of that. It's about choices and how we deal with growth in this city, where we've got a government who's letting rip with thousands of houses being proposed on Parramatta Road, central to Everleigh. You guys have already lived with this, with the Ashmore estate. Not one new traffic, not one bit of public transport is built into that. Our schools are full. We need an inner city high school. We need more childcare. We need aftercare. There's a whole lot of discussions going on in relation to this election that's not just about Westconnex, as important as that is. I want to say to you that I will stand up for all of those issues. I will be in a position to deliver on those issues for you. I will not always say the things that you want me to say, but I will always be upfront with you about what I can and can't do, and where we can find common ground to work together to save the things that are precious in our area, as well as look to the future of this city and this state. We can't stick our head in the ground. There's an extra 1.6 million people moving to Sydney. There are some very difficult choices going forward, and we need to talk about those, and we need to be upfront about those. But no planning without green space, without cycling, without walking, without new schools, and without public transport fundamentally built into it is not going to work, and it's something that we all have to work together to fight every inch of the way. The livability of our city depends on that, as well as what happens with public transport and road infrastructure into the future. Thanks very much.